Welcome to Chapter 10.6, where we will thoroughly explore how to design a control screen like the one you're seeing now and make it fully functional. Every element you see will work: the time, date, weather forecast, and most importantly, the bottom section where we can choose which zone to manage, and additionally, which system in that zone we want to control. These two buttons will open a new window, allowing us to manage ventilation, temperature, and all aspects of lighting, including brightness, color, and even white tones if we wish to do so. Let's dive into this series of chapters. It will likely take more than one, as we need a bit of time to explain everything in detail. Let's begin. We are creating an interface in Canva that we like, which will consist of the following elements. At the bottom, we'll have buttons to decide which system to control: ventilation or fan power of the air conditioning, the desired temperature, which will also display the current temperature, the lighting level, since this can be adjusted, the color of the lighting, as we have RGB lighting in this case, the color temperature, given that we have tunable white lighting. Simultaneously, there are 6 visible buttons, representing 6 parts of the business that we will be able to manage. The process will be to select the zone we want to manage and then press the relevant button. For example, if we want to control reception ventilation, we first press the reception button and then the fan button. When we have this on the screen, we will see how it is functioning. This will actually open another window where we can manage the ventilation power. At the top, we have the weather forecast for the next 5 days, including the specific date for each forecast. Above that is today's weather forecast, the current date, and in large font, the current time. Some parts of this will be static, placed in the background of the screen, such as the button labels and the dividing lines you see here. And I believe that's it. Well, except for the text that indicates today's forecast and the one for the next 5 days. Additionally, we have a button that will allow us to switch to other areas of the business that are not visible on the main screen, but can still be managed. This is an interface fully designed in Canva, which we have seen in previous chapters. As you know, these are just rectangles with rounded corners that will have 2 colors depending on whether they are active or not. A turquoise color when active, a black color when inactive. The same applies to the buttons at the bottom. Once we've drawn the interface we're interested in, we need to convert this drawing into actual buttons on our screens. To do that, and I've already done it here, we'll see it in a moment, we select each object. In this case, the fan. We go to position to see its size. Here, it's 129.6 pixels by 130 pixels, essentially a square. What do? We create a new design and make a dashboard of the same size, 130 by 130, as we saw earlier. Alright, let's just copy from the previous one and paste here. Since we have an element pasted, what we will do is duplicate it by simply clicking here and saying Duplicate. Next, in the next element, we select the green part and we will say Change it to black. In this way, we make all the buttons, the one activated and the one deactivated. As you can see, these buttons are still the buttons I had below. But for our designer, we need to create all the states of each of the buttons. In this case, 2 states. In the same way, we are making the buttons for the areas of the company that we want to manage. We simply copy from the top, look at its size, create a new design in Canva just the size of that element, copy and paste, and change the colors. With this, we would have all the buttons created. As for the icons for weather and weather prediction, on the Open Weather Maps page, we will find the list of icons that are used, the list of basic icons. I will leave this URL in the description of the video, so you can consult it. What we are going to do is, with the icons that we have downloaded from SVG repo, from that page that I already recommended in previous videos, always look for the equivalence between those icons and leave them ready. For example, we have the icon for a sunny day here, but it is in SVG format. We are going to do two things. 1. Reduce it to the appropriate size. Let's see that the icons in our design must have 100 to 28 by 100 to 28 pixels. 2. Additionally, this icon has a transparent background. We need it to have a completely black background. Later, we will see that this is necessary because, in order to change the icons in real time, we are going to place one on top of the other, one for each type of weather forecast. We need each icon to completely cover the previous one. If they were with a transparent background, you would see the parts that are different from the icons behind them. So, to do this, to work with images, change their format, or modify them, I recommend the totally free application called GIMP. I am going to open this sun with GIMP, and we are going to take advantage, since we open it, to change its size. Since it is vector, we can open it to any size we want. We said it had to be 128 by 128, and we have our icon to put a black background on it, since in this case it has a transparent background. You can see it because it has these little squares, which indicates transparency. What we are going to do in GIMP is add a new layer. Right-click on the current layer. New layer. This layer is white. We are going to fill it with black. I already have black selected. We simply take this layer and put it below the previous one. We already have our sun with a black background. Finally, we are going to save it with the Export As option, and we are going to change the extension from SVG to PNG. We export it, confirm it, and now we will see that in our folder, we already have the icon of a sunny day with a black background and also the correct size. The next icon is a slightly sunny day with a bit of clouds. Let's see that we already have an icon that I have previously prepared, and it is correct. We have a cloudy day with a single cloud here, and we also have a very cloudy day but without rain here. I have created them previously, taking this icon, deleting the bottom part and centering it. As you can see, both this one and this one are copies. The cloudy day is a copy of the snow day, and the very cloudy day is a copy of the rainy day with many clouds. So the next icon is cloudy with rain. We have it here, and I have already converted it to PNG and the appropriate size. The day it rains is cloudy, but it is also sunny. We have it here, and it is unconverted. Let's convert it. Exactly the same. Open with GIMP. We change its size to 128. OK. New layer. OK. We fill it in black, put it below, and export the file. We change the name to PNG, and we're going to clean it up. Remove this 1. OK. We export it and continue. You will see that it is always exactly the same. OK, I'm not going to repeat it more times, but I'm going to continue to finish them all. As you have seen, we have already prepared the icons for our bottom buttons, the icons for our zones, and we have just prepared the icons for the weather forecasts. Everything else on this screen is going to be something that we will do directly, either because it is a static part that is in the background, or because we are going to generate it directly with the design tool. For example, we are going to make the time directly with design elements of the screen. This date is exactly the same, and these numbers here, which are the days of the month to which the weather forecast corresponds, we will also place them with the design tool itself because they will be variables that vary at all times. So the next thing we have to do is duplicate this, move to the copy, and we're going to delete everything that is objects that will be live. So we're going to delete the buttons. Also, all of these buttons because they're going to be objects that are live. Also, this button because it is the button to go to other areas. And we will eliminate all of this because they will be, effectively, icons that we are going to place, and that will be elements that will change based on variables. Therefore, we eliminate them. We also eliminate the days of the month because they will also be variables that will come from our Adquio. And finally, we remove the weather forecast for today and remove the date. We are going to leave the labels because the truth is that they do not bother us, and it is a job that we save on the designer. Let's also remove the time from up here. What we achieve with this is to have the background of our dashboard ready. Next, we are going to upload it to the screen, and we are going to start placing the objects that we have already designed, that we have seen before, the bottom buttons and the area buttons. Let's go with it. Let's first save this background. I will download it in PNG format, and we will only download element number 2. We download it, and we are going to call it background. Now, as we have seen on multiple occasions, we will send both this background and the icons that we have here. We will send it through AnyDesk to the Downloads folder on the screen. I am not going to repeat it because we have already seen it in many previous chapters, and we will have all that available within the designer to start placing them in their positions. Let's go with it. We are already connected to our screen, and as I had mentioned before, we have already transferred the files so we can use them directly from here. So the first thing we are going to do is add the background image. As you already know, for this we have two options. The first is to add an image, in this case 800 pixels wide. Since this screen has a resolution of 1280 by 800 wide. And we're going to select our empty background that we had created. As you can see, in this case, we have eliminated both the top and bottom bars, since the 8-inch Adquio wall screens allow it, and the user has the entire screen to be able to use it for the user interface. There is no danger in leaving this interface, since the only way to do so is through gestures that you do not have to know well. This is the first system. It has the disadvantage that if we drag this like this, we can displace it. But in principle, it should not happen, because we will see if we do. The other option is to go to the panels, to the current panel properties, and set it as the background. Okay, we select that we want a specific image, custom image, and we select here which image we want. We are not going to do it like this, because if we do it like this, we would only be able to see it if we execute. And that is not the case. So what we're going to tell you is that we want it to have a black background color. If we run this, we will see that we already have our background. Now all we have to do is start putting the icons on top of it. We go back to design, and the next thing we are going to do is create, as we had seen previously, a custom button, which is what allows us to define the button. We don't know the size. We're going to go to Canva for a moment, and with this button we're going to go to Position, and we're going to see that it has 130 by 130 pixels. Very good. Then we turn, and we are going to say here that it is square, and that it is 130 pixels in size. We are going to select. In this case, I have it done. But we are going to add one more so that you can see it. For example, the next button, the deactivated one. I have a folder with all the buttons. Let's take, for example, temperature. The deactivated one is this one, and the activated one is this one. We are going to name it temp, since it requires us to give it a name. In this case, the first icon is the fan, so we simply click on the fan and it brings it to us. We confirm, and we are going to see that we already have the fan, and also that it is the right size. As you know, this has a grid, and when we move the buttons, they move through that grid. What happens is that the background image is hiding it from us. In principle, we are going to place it using this grid, and if we see that we do not have enough precision, we will increase the resolution of that grid. We will make those background squares smaller. All right, we have the first one. Let's add the second one. Again, a custom button, 130. Again, we select that we want to upload the images and we take the temperature icon. All right, let's bring it approximately here. I'm going to add the other three icons that I'm missing, but you already know that you have to do exactly the same. We already have all the icons placed, and in principle the position is not bad at all. I would move them a little to the left so that they are right on top, but right now it works for us as is. You will see that the icons have a little arrow here in the upper left part that indicates that they have not yet been assigned a memory address. They're put there, but they're not connected to anything yet. The moment we connect them, that's going to disappear. Let's run it to see how it looks. Very well. They look quite good. What we do see is that we still can't test them because without an assigned variable, it doesn't allow us to activate or deactivate them. The next thing we're going to do is place the zone buttons. For this, we'll do exactly the same. We go to our buttons, take any one of them, go to position, and we see that they are 236 by 164. We'll then add another button, 236 deactivated. Select Reception Deactivated and Reception Activated, and place it. We select it. It appears to look good, and indeed, even though it's not square, it allowed us to place it. As you can see, it's exactly the same as in the previous case. They're just rectangular icons or buttons instead of circular icons. I'm going to add the missing ones, and we'll continue. As you can see, I've already placed all the zone buttons and also took the opportunity to put the date up here. I changed the toolbar from being at the bottom to the top. It's very easy. You have it here. Toolbar, and we can choose whether to have it at the top or bottom. In this case, I put it at the top because it bothered me less than having it below the buttons. So, as I was saying, these are just advanced value displays. I simply adjusted them to fit the size I needed. How do we adjust them? Well, with these options here, always multiplying by the width and height of the button. I've been playing with the values until I got the font size that fits what I need. To test it, I told it that this is a default text. But obviously, when we connect it to the Adquio variables, we'll need to tell it that it's a number. Using a default text is very useful because we can set a default value and see how it looks. In this case, this 2210 is written manually. So, what are we going to do now? We're going to export the current time to the Adquio, which is connected to this screen, and it will update every minute. This Adquio is managing the entire building, and it has a lot of connected devices. It's an Adquio Pro, and I've seen that it has a device with two variables, a memory device with the variables current time and current minute. In this case, it's 10:29 in the morning, so we'll take these two variables from the memory device and export them, since they are not yet in the current export. We're going to export them by selecting the memory device and choosing current time and current minute. As always, it puts them at the end, and we're going to renumber them, as usual, so it numbers them automatically. Let's see that it gave us variables 14 and 17, which is because there were gaps above, and it filled them in. Perfect. So we know they are 14 and 17. We save, apply the changes, and return to our screen. We'll now change this constant to a variable, which will be a number. And we'll tell it that this value comes from our Modbus 1, which is our Adquio Pro. Specifically from our Adquio Pro, and the variables were 14 and 17. For the time, we set it to variable 14. We see that it's not updating. It seems to be connected. Let's see what's happening. It's very simple. We just forgot to activate the device. Since we're here, let's take the opportunity to rename Adquio Pro without spaces. Correct? Now it's enabled, and as you can see, it has already brought the variable. We'll do the same with the minutes variable. Instead of a text, it will be a number, and we'll take Adquio Pro and select position 17 from Adquio Pro. It's 10:41. We run it, and it looks perfect. Let's wait and see if it updates automatically to 10:42. There it is, so now we have the time working. We exit to Design and Continue. An important detail. It's now 13:03, and we see that this looks a bit off because there should be a 0 here, 13:04. Let's fix it. We click on the variable we want to change on this number, and we tell it we want to use a custom format, and that we want 2 zeros. This means if there's a leading 0, it will appear, and now it looks much nicer, 13:04. Next, we're going to put the date in this position. If you remember, we had the forecast for today here and the current date next to it. To do this, we're going to go to our Adquio and see how we'll send the date and all the weather forecast information. The S script we're going to see now I'll also leave linked in the comments, along with the weather device, which is the one that will contain all the information to display the weather forecast on the screen. Additionally, not only will it give us the forecast for the next few days, but it can also do so within each day, every 3 hours. It's important to see that everything we have here are variables that will contain all that information. I'll also export this device in JSON format and leave it in the comments for you to just copy the device and paste it. Link it to your module, whether it's a memory or virtual module. In this case, the module is called Memory. But in your case, you'll need to change it to the correct one or create a new memory module. We have a periodic event called Refresh Forecast, and I've set this periodic event to execute every 20 seconds. It won't be necessary to do it this often in production. Doing it every hour, for example, would be enough. But for testing, I set it to 20 seconds to verify that it's working and refreshing the information. Now we have the correct values, so we can leave it as it would be in production, executing every hour, for example. Additionally, here's the script to Hanax for this periodic event, and we're going to modify it. As you know, recurring event scripts have 2 parts. You will see that we have 2 text editors, one at the top and one at the bottom. The one at the top is executed only once when Adquio starts, executing whatever we have in this upper part. The one at the bottom is executed according to the period configuration that we have configured. If we have told you, as in this case, every hour, then what we put here would be executed every hour. In this case, I am going to copy what I had at the top in its entirety, and I am going to take it to the bottom, because I needed to do it at startup and also do it in each periodic event. If there is an interesting thing, if you have common functions, such as in this case the getIcon function that we have here, and we will also have below, we can eliminate it from the bottom, since it can perfectly call everything that let's define at the top. So we can remove this function from here. You will see that it gives us a notification that is not defined, but don't worry about that. It is simply that it is not found in this editor, but it is found in the initialization editor. Let's look at this script a little bit. This script calls Open Weather Maps, the API of a website that provides weather predictions, and specifically one of its APIs, which is free to use as long as we do not abuse it. So, to connect to this API, we have the Axios library, and we need an API key that you must get on this website. Please do not use my API key because otherwise we will overload it and it will stop working for all of us. It's completely free. Go to Open Weather Map, create a user for free, and get an API key similar to this one also for free. The next thing we have to do is locate the coordinates of the area that we are interested in showing its prediction. I have put here the coordinates of La Coruña in Spain. You have to go to Google and simply enter coordinates of and your city or town. You enter the latitude and longitude, you can leave the rest of the code as it is. What this is going to do is make a call to that API and it will process the entire response, because we are only interested in the predictions starting at 9 in the morning. This system gives predictions every 3 hours, including nightly predictions. We are going to make 5 predictions for each day, which will be every 3 hours starting at 9 in the morning. That is, at 9, at 12, at 3, etc., until 9 in the evening. The only thing you're going to do is first collect the day, the month, and the year of that prediction, what day that prediction is for. We will use this day to put it below the prediction, below the icon for that day, and then it will read the 5 predictions for that day. That reading consists of obtaining the icon identifier and a code for the weather. Then you repeat it 5 times to get the data for each prediction interval. When it finishes, it skips all the prediction values again, just as we did at the beginning, to move on to the next day and start reading again at 9 in the morning. All the variables it reads, as you can see, are written to the weather device in a variable called icon01, icon02, icon03, icon04, icon05. We are going to see those variables in the weather device. Here we have them, okay? Icon011, icon012, etc. These are the predictions for the first day. Icon021, icon022, and the predictions for the second day. Icon031, icon032. The same with the third day and the fourth day. Additionally, at the bottom, we have the current day, the current month, and the current year. These variables are also fed periodically so that they change as time progresses. This is done in a scheduled event called update date time, which runs every minute. We take the opportunity to also update the date in the same script. To see the script that is made for this, I will also leave it to you. We go to Script Management and click Edit this script. And as you will see here, the current hour and the current minute are obtained in the following way. First, we declare a variable that we tell is of type date. And from there, we get the hours and minutes. You have to be careful here because getting the day, month, and year is a bit special. Instead of using getDay, which would be intuitive, we should use getDate, since getDay will give you the day of the week, not the day of the month. The get month is what we expect, and the year, if we want to get the full 4-digit year, is get full year. This will be executed every minute, and every minute we will be loading these variables so that our screen can display them correctly. If we then return to our screen, we are going to leave here. We are going to see that we already have the variable connected to position 312, this variable connected to position 313, and this variable connected to position 314. Simply, I have done the same as we did up here with some new variables where they are being exported. Now, if we go to the export, we will see that those variables are exported at the end. As we see, all three are here, 312, 313, 314, exactly as we just saw here. So we have already seen how to set the date and time. Now let's start to see how to make this 4-day weather prediction. Not 5, as I said before, and how to make these icons change based on the weather prediction. This chapter is already getting a little long, so we'll continue in the next one. Until then.